Good morning, everybody. My name is Crystal. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Another cold one by the look of it. When I got up this morning, it was freezing. Put the heater on for a bit, make myself a hot drink, and then get ready for the day. So yeah, it's just trying to keep warm, isn't it? That's all it is, keeping warm. Making sure you eat, because food is fuel to keep your body going. So it's eating and heating, and that's all it is right now for a lot of people in Great Britain. I'm not planning to go anywhere today, not at all. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday. It's Wednesday, it's the middle of the week, and I hope everyone has a great day. Alexa, good morning.
Good morning, and a very happy birthday to EastEnders. First broadcast on this day in 1985. I trust that the residents of Albert Square will celebrate in their usual calm way, and that absolutely nothing will go wrong.
So happy birthday to EastEnders. First broadcast in 1985. Wow, sounds such a long time ago now. Alexa, what's the time, please?
Good morning, Crystal. The time is 8:25 a.m.
Alexa, what's the date today?
It's Wednesday, the 19th of February.
Alexa, what is the weather outlook?
Currently, in Rochester it's 1 degree Celsius with mostly cloudy skies. Today, you can expect cloudy skies, with a high of 8 degrees and a low of 1 degree.
Alexa, can you tell me a joke?
What kind of shorts do clouds wear? Thunderwear.
Alexa, who was born on this day? Alexa, who was born on this day?
Celebrities born on the 19th of February include Chapel Roan, Millie Bobby Brown, Seal, Nicholas Copernicus, and Prince Andrew.
So it's Prince Andrew's birthday today. It's a bit of a tricky subject because I want to sing a happy birthday song to EastEnders, but I'm really not in the mood to sing a song to Prince Andrew. So Alexa, can we sing happy birthday to EastEnders?
I'm not sure what went wrong.
Alexa, can you sing happy birthday?
1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Now 3 cheers. Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray! Hip hip hooray!
Happy birthday to anybody that's born on this day, and also happy birthday to EastEnders. And the original cast must be getting on now. How old is Ian Beale, the character in EastEnders? Alexa, how old is Ian Beale?
Ian Beale was born on the 28th of June 1968.
So, Alexa, who is the character who plays Ian Beale?
From wikipedia.org. Ian Beale is a fictional character from the BBC soap opera EastEnders, played by Adam Woodyard.
Alexa, how old is Adam Woodyard?
From imdb.com. Adam is reportedly now 41 years old, as he had a birthday on June 10th, 1982.
No, I think Adam Woodyard is the same age as me. He was born in 1968, so I watched a bit of EastEnders the other night, and I could see the original cast of EastEnders getting as old as I am. So Adam Woodyatt plays Ian Beale, and I watched him last night or the other night whenever EastEnders was on, and he's getting older. That's it. We all get older. We all change. Our face shape changes, and we just get older, and you can tell. And 1985 was a long, long time ago. Really, you know, when I was a young girl in the 70s and 80s, I couldn't see 20 to 25 into the future. I hadn't even had children or anything. So it's just so strange seeing things now. I'm remembering what I was feeling like back then. So once again, good morning everybody. So yeah, I live by myself. I live on my own with my pets, and as you get older, life changes. It does. However much you love your children, they grow up, they leave home, they have their own lives. And in a relationship, there's divorce, there's, a spouse dies, and you end up, some of us, on our own. And no matter how much your children love you and all this and that, they have their own lives to live. And unless it's a very close-knit family, some children even move to foreign countries while their parents stay in Great Britain. So it can be a lonely time as you get older. But you have to look after yourself, you have to look after your mindset, and you have to look after your body, and you have to try and not get too stressed. And I know it's hard with the cost of living, because I am struggling right now myself. But, I keep my mind active. I play puzzles. I got myself a crossword book. I keep my mind active. I keep up to date with the news, and I use TikTok, so I know what's going on in the world. So I'm not sat down like my mother, who just sits down and has lost touch with everything. I do try to keep fit. I've had a bit of trouble with my knee lately, and I fell on my knee this morning, which is, well, let's see how far I can get with my knee across the field today. I was just, cats are cats. Harry is one of these cats that is very vocal, very, very active in the morning, and I was trying to sort my bed out, tidy the bed up and put the bed in straight, and Harry came running across in front of my feet whilst I was walking, and I fell over right on my knee. And probably it's going to all start again now. When it was starting to get better, I just fell on it, straight onto the kneecap that was hurting. He was coming that way, darting across, crashed into each other, and I slipped over and fell on my knee. But I've got up, I'm standing, and I've just got to go outside with it again. It feels okay, we'll see. As you get older, when you fall, it's hard to get up. So I'm glad I got my bits, my Amazon parcel returned. There's no need to contact Amazon customer service. It's just a case of keeping myself occupied, my mind distracted from I don't want to get cross. I don't want to be unhappy. I want to be my own person and get on with my life. And I don't want to be a person that shouts and gets cross, because that was my father. He was very much like that, getting angry over everything and yelling and shouting. Yeah, it's dark outside. It is cold, and you just want to stay indoors and keep warm. And what I noticed when I went out the other day was, when I had my thick coat on, was I felt cold outside, and then some shops have got their heating on, and then you're roasting in a shop, roasting in it, and then you go outside and you get frozen solid. So so we would walk up the street, go into a shop, and it'd be baking, staying there for 10-20 minutes, come out and freeze again. That's what it felt like the other day when I went out to town. I haven't got the money to spend to keep going out. I don't even go to the co-op very much anymore, because it's what, 5 to 7 items, £30. I mean, really, you know, Valentine's Day flowers, 10, 15, 20 pounds a bunch of flowers in a deprived area. I mean, it's terrible. The co-op is an expensive shop, it is. So it's handy if you need some milk and bread, but things are expensive. So, no shopping today. So guys, I'm just writing things down in my journal and taking things as they come. I mean, I don't want to go around being miserable and complaining. Thank you to whoever put my parcels in the communal area. Thank you for that. Only small cheap items, but it cheers me up. Getting ready to do a bit of getting ready for spring, and I'm going to sort my balcony plants out, throw ones away that ain't no good, and start from there. And I've just seen that one of my plants has fallen over, and I've got to pick it up. Alexa, LBC radio.
LBC London from Global Player.
No.
Very similar to the Russians' line.
Well, I was going to ask you, no one will know the answer to this question, but you've probably got closer feelers than most. How will those pictures, how will this news go down within the Kremlin?
Well, I think the Kremlin have been pretty happy
I would have thought.
since day one. I mean, you know, if the White House is repeating those sort of propaganda lines that, you know, Ukraine started the war, etc., then of course they'll be really happy that people are rewriting history. You know, I saw another comment the president made, I think yesterday, that, you know, Russia's only done 20%. It could have done 100%. It could be there. You know, it could really try. Well, it did try. It put 165,000 troops into the invasion of Ukraine and lost them all. It actually lost its main modern land army. It's having to regenerate that. And I think this is where the penny hasn't quite dropped. The Ukrainians, who are a tiny force, badly equipped, have held off and defeated to some extent, certainly decimated 700,000 Russians in 3 years.
So am I to take from you, Sir Ben, that in this instance you find yourself perhaps supporting Sir Keir Starmer more than you might have first thought, in that he says Ukraine has to be part of Ukrainian peace?
Yes, I mean, but defence and our security should always be non-partisan.
Yeah, okay.
I believe it's not about who did what when. Fundamentally, Sir Keir is doing the right thing. He is trying to lead a group of Europeans, and the Europeans do want leadership on this. You know, you've got German elections, so you can't have a German leader at the moment. You've got Macron, who is saying the right things, but he's got a weak political base. he is trying to do the right thing. He's going to try, obviously, and speak to Donald Trump and persuade him that the best alternative is some contribution by the United States. You know, he's talked about a security backstop.
Yeah.
But also,
You hold with that idea of a backstop, Sir
I
Ben?
absolutely, well, if it's possible, but also in defence of Donald Trump, the other part of the message from last week in Munich was absolutely the same message that many of us have been saying for a long time, which is we have to stand up and contribute to our own security and not take American support for granted. And for over a decade, ever since Obama came in the Cardiff NATO conference, the Americans have been asking us nicely, please contribute more, please make defence more of a priority, and we have ignored it and indulged ourselves in other public sector spending. And you know, Rachel Reeves had her budget. She took billions of pounds out of our tax, gave £22 billion to the NHS, and gave billions to the environmental net zero thing, and non-productive pay rises, etc. That's her choice, right? The leaders to choose. They've made their choice for now. But what America is saying, I'm sorry, guys, the world is more dangerous. Reprioritise, and in that prioritisation, push defence up the agenda.
How disappointed are you that we still hear from the Prime Minister only speak of a roadmap to get to 2.5% of GDP spending on defence?
Well, if after the Vice President's speech and the US Defence Secretary's speeches last week, the penny hasn't dropped, then I fear, I actually fear for the integrity of NATO. Because
Do you think J.D. Vance was on the money, as it were?
some of his speech was on the money.
What parts do you support? That we're in a crisis of confidence? That we're almost taking US for suckers, that sort of line?
The bit about we have taken for granted US support for security in Europe. You know, the American generals were on the hook for 340,000 US servicemen and women to come to our aid, right? 340,000. If I had that liability as a defence secretary, I'd be wanting to make sure that the allies that help that happen and support are properly equipped and properly armed, properly ammoed up. And we're just not. So, you know, if we value NATO, and I do, it's one of the most successful military alliances in our history, 75 years on, we have to play our part. That's the bit I totally agree with the United States on. And we can't fuss around and faff around about 0.1% of GDP, 0.2%. You know, we have to actually go back to the levels we spent in our Cold War era of about 3%, start investing. Poland's done it. Many of those other smaller countries have started to do it. Denmark cancelled a public holiday to do it and to increase their revenues. And they had political courage to their population to say, we have to change them.
When Sir Keir talks of putting British troops as part of a peacekeeping force in Ukraine, Sir Ben, you'll know better again than most, have we got enough blokes and women and kit to do it?
We haven't got a good enough enabled armed forces at the moment to be in more than one place.
So we'd have to take them someplace else.
We'd have to, first of all, invest. We could in the short term. So financial pressures on defence come in two forms. One is sustainability. How long can you actually deploy your troops? How long can they be there? And every time, you know, the longer you're there, you have to either rotate or replenish, and that costs money. And the other one is how many have you got to do it in the first place? So they sort of overlap. So of course you could put some troops in early on, quite quickly, and actually to change the calculation that Russia would have to make to continue attacks is all about how many people in uniform are there. So if there's, you know, there's a saying, how many Americans on duty does it take to deter Russia? One, right? One. Because Russia has to decide whether it wants to kill Americans or not. So fundamentally, you know, by being there, you start to make a presence. You would then have time, because the Russian army is so decimated, it'll take the Russians about 2 to 3 years to re-equip, rearm, and modernise their armed forces, maybe even longer. You know, you can't lose 700,000 dead, injured or deserted personnel, thousands of tanks, and just mend that. So you have time for us to spend an increased defence budget to start getting up into the right places.
Let me show you one of the front pages, Sir Ben. Typhoons is the front page of Times. You may have had sight of it already. Typhoons may help to keep peace in Ukraine. British fighter jets could avert need for troops.
I think there's underneath the headline it says something, if Russia agrees or something.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, if Russia agrees, you can have a biplane doing it. I mean, it doesn't have to be. I mean, the question is how much are you prepared to do it? What's the West resolve? What is the West resolve to look after our own security, whether it's in Ukraine or whether it's elsewhere? And I think America has felt that our resolve has been lacking because we've never put our money where our mouth is. And I think, you know, how resolved are we? You know, I take quite a strong view. Ukraine is a sovereign country. It's up to Ukraine who it allows in its territory. I saw Lavrov, you know, the Russian foreign minister, who always plays the part of a sort of shagged out lion, you know, in the pride. You know, he's not in the inner circle of Putin. He you know, those nature programs, you know, you see the sort of the old, sweated out, poor old male
Why are you looking
lion.
at me? Why are you looking at me?
He plays that sort of part. But you know, there he is calling the shots on Ukraine. You know, this is unacceptable. Well, America would never accept somebody telling them who they can ally with and who they can have on their soil. So I'm not sure why Lavrov thinks he can on Ukraine.
PM goes to Washington next week, Sir Ben. What does he need to say? What does he need to achieve? What does success look like on that trip with Trump?
Look, I met with Trump. I had lunch with Donald Trump when I was the Defence Secretary at the NATO conference.
How would you rate that experience?
We talked a lot about golf, which doesn't rank high on my knowledge.
Right.
I mean, well, sort of does.
Was it chicken nuggets and Coca-Cola?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was at a very smart place in the Grove, I think it was called, in Hertfordshire.
Oh, right.
So it was interesting. It was very interesting. But you know, I was under the Biden administration as well, and I did a similar thing with Joe Biden. And look, the thing I think with Americans
Who's
is,
better lunch company?
well, Donald Trump was better lunch company. I have to give you
What?
that. I mean, I could go down this rabbit hole all day, but I think fundamentally,
Hold the news.
the point is, dealing with the Americans, you don't have to have a row. We speak the same language, you know, but you can be firm. You can say what you want. And I was a bit disappointed that when the Prime Minister had his phone call with Donald Trump a few weeks ago, he didn't raise Ukraine. He didn't raise Greenland. You know, Denmark is one of our friends and allies. He didn't raise tariffs. He didn't raise, you know, a whole load of issues that are important to the United Kingdom's national interest. So I hope he raises those. He can do it in private, obviously. But, you know, the clue's in the name of this new American administration, MAGA, Make America Great Again. Doesn't it make Britain great again?
for the world.
Make America great. And that's fine. That is legitimate. They were voted in on that. That's fine. But we should also therefore focus on what's in Britain's national interest. And I hope he will stand up for that in those meetings in private. He doesn't have to do it in public. And our advantage as Brits is we do have a long history, and we also speak the same language.
All right, finally, and you are a military bloke to your boots, I remind the listeners, you will know of this story concerning the tragic death of Jaisley Beck. Now the head of the army has written to senior officers condemning the appalling and shameful behaviour, his words, as more than 1,000 women share their stories of abuse in the light of the death of that young woman. General Sir Rowley Walker, a man you'll know well, said he's disgusted by the treatment of female officers. Officers need to step up and play your part as a leader, visibly and confidently, to stop this. Is that the army you served in?
Yeah, Rowley Walker is a fantastic appointment. I appointed him, but